But it's energy, and our energies can either destroy a room or it can bring peace and ground the room. I was like a puppet because you're not in control. You're not being your conscious creator. You're just reacting. Like the power of just one person, right? When you're regulated, I was the one to keep everything calm. So my whole life, I feel like every experience, even if it was painful, brought me to this moment.
What if we can become recovered people pleasers and use the very skills we learn to survive to become extraordinary space holders? Today, we're exploring the power of the attunement, empathy, and regulation skills so many of us learned as young girls, and how those same skills can become the foundation of transformational leadership when we stop abandoning ourselves inside them. Today on Wild Flow, I'm joined by Leilani Garcia, speaker, retreat facilitator, and creator of the Artful Alchemist and the Remembrance method, an integrative approach that weaves together nervous system regulation, subconscious transformation, and embodied leadership. Drawing on nearly 2 decades of creating executive and transformational experiences, Leilani helps individuals and organizations create greater resilience, authenticity, and purpose. But before this became her work, Leilani experienced a profound awakening that led her to leave an abusive marriage and discover she had celiac disease. What followed was a familiar path for many of you listening, a season of unraveling, healing, and moving through multiple deaths and rebirths that ultimately brought her back to herself, her love of life, and her priestess path. Together, we explore the hidden gifts inside people pleasing, what happens when your body has spent years in protection mode and vigilance and reading the room to keep yourself safe, and the sacred process of returning to yourself after seasons of rupture, illness, divorce, and profound change. We talk about nervous system safety, the sacred pause, tips for holding boundaries in the face of a power imbalance, and why so many women learn to read a room long before they ever learn to read themselves. This conversation is ultimately about remembrance, about who we become when we stop abandoning ourselves, soften our grip on old identities, trust the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, and begin leading not from fear or conditioning or survival, but from presence, the open heart, truth, and deep rooted safety. I think so many of you are going to recognize yourself in this one. Settle in for today's episode of Wild Flow. Leilani Garcia, welcome to Wild Flow Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Charlotte, for having me. I'm super excited.
Oh, me too. Me too. We've just had such a good chat before we've pressed record, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's just so many juicy pieces and places we could go in this conversation. So I'm really excited to see which rabbit holes we go down. Um, so before we start, let's drop in as usual into our bodies and into the moment. And if you're listening, I invite you to just really do the same as well, whether it's to ground yourself and slow down, or just tune into your body, into the earth, into the moment, into presence, and just really feel where you're at today and how that's feeling for you, what you're noticing in your body. And you might even tune into a word that you might describe how you feel feeling physically in your physical body, noticing any sensations, anything you're aware of physically, mentally, in your mind, the quality of your thoughts. And just invite you to breathe in, slow down, and let that unwind so you can be here with us now and emotionally into your heart. Just notice what sort of emotion is there for you. And then spiritually or energetically, noticing how present or grounded or connected you're feeling, whether you are open to the earth, to your divinity, whether you are working with your intuitive senses, It might be archetypally which kind of energy is present that you're embodying today. It might be more related to the earth season or the moon phase or your cyclical phase, depending on which one of these pieces really resonates. So just tuning in, what is your body asking of you right now in that moment? So I'll share my check-in first and then we'll invite Leilani to share hers. So for me, I'm just coming out of my ovulation phase of my cycle. And so I'm feeling quite tired, actually. I'm in the middle of solo parenting and it's been absolutely beautiful, really, really lovely, but just requiring more of the load as it does with my 3 kids who still need all the things from me. And so I'm feeling like I'm sort of coming down off the back of a wave. My brain's been a bit foggy the last few days, but I'm just welcoming that. My heart feels really open. It's been beautiful to connect with Leilani before we've pressed. And so I'm feeling all excited and with a kindred spirit here today. And my body feels good. And I just feel really attuned and expansive. Even though the earth is in deep midwinter slumber, we're also at full moon. It's like an hour or so ago, half an hour ago. So really peak lunar energy, despite being in the depths of winter. I'm cocooned with the heater on and my layers on. I'm just feeling really soft and gooey after the chance to drop in. So that's me. And Leilani, how about you, love? How are you feeling today? What would you like to share?
Let's see. I feel after all this, I'm very at peace. So thank you. Feel very peace and centered. And, I'm in the summer where I'm at. So my energy does feel expansive, like I'm expanding and growing. So I do feel a calling to ground more during this time. And yeah, I'm very just
Mm.
extremely grateful and at peace. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so you're at the peak opposite of the energetic wheel, if you like, to where I am. You're in Florida in the States, and I'm here in the Southern Highlands of Australia. So yeah, coming from very different places, but just yeah, really feeling how at peace we both are as well after dropping in. So yeah, and so just feel that for yourself. Where are you at? And we'll open that conversation. So thank you. So Leilani, um, I would love to begin this conversation by asking you to take us to the point in your life, the threshold, the aha, the initiation, the moment where you and your life changed and you felt that in yourself, in your body, in your work, in your identity, the life that you had been living and the person that you had been was being really called to change and to step in and let go and expand. What was that like for you? And like, how did you feel? What was the signal in your intuition or in your body that was saying to you, even if you tried to ignore it before? I'm not sure if you did, but I think we all get that, like, the saying of like the universe throws, it throws little nudges and little whispers, and then it starts throwing rocks and boulders until you get the message. So what was that like for
Yep.
you? And how did you know when it was time to
Yeah.
go, this is it?
was definitely in my marriage when things weren't going as well. I started noticing a lot more anxiety. I was not, I'm not an anxious person. So there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of tiptoeing, a lot of, uncertainty. And I felt like I had to make everyone happy. And so my whole day was just making everyone happy, the kids, the husband, everything. And my health started, I noticed it in my health. I think I was so dysregulated. I didn't notice the little nudges because
Yeah.
I went from like nothing to then a celiac, I had an autoimmune.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, it was big. It wasn't the little nudge. So I think it's because I was so dysregulated, not at all thinking about myself. I was thinking about everyone else and trying to make everyone else happy. And when I did receive that diagnosis and I was having all these issues, then I knew something wasn't right, right? And I'm like, what am I doing that's perhaps causing this? And no, at the time, like nobody would tell me that it's really like stress.
Mm.
That stress had to do. So, they're just like, oh, maybe it's food. It's food, I think is what but it really was activated by stress. And like I had that gene in me, but it was stress that really activated it.
Mm.
And, and then I did go through a divorce and I noticed that was just horrendous. I don't wish that on anyone. It's talk about identity, talk about uncertainty, goodness. And I realized that that's when I realized I lost my power. I gave it away. Like this man had so much power over me and how I behaved, how I reacted, what I was thinking, everything was dictated by him. And I was like, who am I? I was such a confident, successful woman. I'm like, who am I? And I was just like, this is not the life I want to live. This is not me. And then that's when I was like, hell no. I am, finding some help. And what I actually did was spend time in silence. Luckily, I lived by the beach and I was able to go into nature and just spend time in silence. And there is where I received guidance. And actually, it was to go to a psychic. And I was like, wait, what? Mom's gonna kill me. We're Catholic. And I was just like, do I not? And I was just like, I'm desperate. I'm desperate. I don't have answers. I'm desperate. And so I did. I went. I knew there was a neighbor that was kind of into that. So quietly, I went and I asked her for some, references or some contacts, and then I went to psychic, and I was blown away, right, by like how connected to all consciousness she is, like somebody that can know all this and have such beautiful insight for me. And she provided me with, she was like talking about balancing chakras. I'm like, what are chakras? I really had no idea. Like, I was like, what? And then that actually got me into understanding metaphysical sciences. And then it brought me on that journey of self discovery and really connecting. And it's been amazing.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I think it's so like it seems really common. Maybe it's because, the people who I've been speaking to who've been sharing similar, but it does seem like there's a real common experience where, like you said, you didn't hear the nudges, you're disconnected, you're not tuned into your own body. It's not, your needs have not been something that have been centered. So we spend our time being really attuned to everyone else, gauging what they need, what they want. That's a safety mechanism, isn't it? It's a trauma response as well. If it's sort of exacerbated and then perpetuated that way. And, a lot of us grow up like that, especially as girls. We're so raised to be attuned to everybody else anyway. But when we literally need to be sensing what's going on around us and preempting it or getting ahead of it or managing it, it becomes so deeply ingrained into our nervous system. And it's just so common for us to be really disconnected. And then like you said, you had a pretty significant chronic inflammation health condition diagnosed. And I love what you said there. Like, you obviously carry the gene, but the gene got turned on for you. And what did that? That's the environment around that turned it on, and it woke you up to that point of, oh my gosh, here's something that I just can't ignore. We can perhaps bury our heads in a marriage, and even when we know it's not right for us, and we can put up with jobs or relationships, people, all kinds of circumstances, we can just about get through it. But when the body has a reaction like that, and we can't get through our day to day feeling healthy, feeling well, without pain, without pretty significant symptoms, the body, like, that's its way of getting hold of you. And you hear it quite often with other conditions like endometriosis, or that's a really quite common one. So I think that's just so interesting that for you, you said that you were really, that was the sort of portal that woke you up to it, but then that was the catalyst that really helped you see the person that you had been and the way you've been living your life. And on the outside, feel confident and successful, but on the inside, really feeling like you'd lost yourself and didn't know who you were. And and feeling like, yeah, I need answers. And how do I do that? I love the simplicity of silence and going to the beach and being in nature and just sitting and listening and being with yourself. And I think it's hilarious about getting the nudge to go see a psychic, and feeling like, from your upbringing and religion, like, oh, how does that fit in? But I think it's just so, like, what you've described is just such, I feel like all of us listening to this are just like nodding along going, yep, been there, know that, I know this story so well. And you've said, you've described your life as death, rebirth, death, rebirth, death, rebirth. I feel like that's been mine too. It's that constant evolution of expansion and contraction, and really needing to let go so that parts of us can die away, and not trying to cling on to them, and knowing that that is all part of the process, these cycles of evolution and transformation. And I love that you have really embraced that. So before we were recording, you were saying about how we were both laughing and joking about how when you go through so many and then you recognize this never ending cycle of death and rebirth, you kind of get to the point where you're like, ah, here's another one. Like, it ain't pretty, but I know I'm gonna be okay on the other side of it. I know I'll survive. Um, I'd love to go into this a little bit with you. When you look back now, what was some of the identities or survival self that you had to shed? And how did you relate to those cycles early on of death and rebirth? Was it something that was terrifying, or was it something, how did you learn to be comfortable with those?
I mean, they're painful, right?
Ah,
So, goodness gracious, yeah, they're painful. But now I look back and I'm just like, I always come out brighter and
yeah.
better, So it's identifying what needs to be released, right? That's kind of the hard one.
Mm,
I think I'm actually going through another one of those. I'm
yeah.
like, I know there's something I need to let go of. But the first ones were so painful. But there was always this knowing of having this knowing that life can be beautiful, and I'm willing to give it, to try anything, to risk anything that doesn't feel like it's, in alignment. Like it's so I did a lot of risky things, the first marriage, the crash, the, the birth, it was a very abusive marriage, and I was very scared to get out of it because I thought he was going to kill me. So that was really scary, but I knew I had to take the risk. Either I die in his hands, or I, yay, I make it, and yay, I made it.
Yeah.
And, as painful and scary as that was, I just have this love for life. I really do. And there's still this knowing or this remembrance of who I really am, and I always, I love that. I love that that fun girl that loves to just explore life, live with curiosity and with love and build community. And so even when I was in situations where they try to dim that or control that, I took every risk because I wanted that back. I wanted to be, I remembered who I was. But they're very painful. But now I do see it, now I've gotten so used to it that I'm just like, oh, bring it on. I'm like excited actually. I'm excited because I know that it's medicine for me. Like whatever it is, it's gonna just make me fly higher. It's gonna make me soar higher. So I welcome it now. I know I'm going to be good. I'm safe. And I look forward to the rebirth
Yeah.
and what it offers.
I just really want to acknowledge your courage and just celebrate you for being able to trust in yourself and do what you needed to do to leave, because like you say, those abusive marriages are I've not experienced one myself, but just so dangerous even to leave and scary. And so that being able to
Charlotte,
do that.
yes, Charlotte, thank you for, and I want to, like, I pray for women that are in these situations. I pray for them every day because it is scary and it's really hard and it takes a lot of courage and faith.
Mm.
It's, I don't know where I got the courage, but it was in there. And but I always pray for, maybe some women that, are not quite there.
Yeah.
Because it is really difficult. So thanks for acknowledging that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you're sharing with us too, because I think it's so important for us to talk about. And so, it's really inspiring knowing that you've come from that place to see you now and like really feel your spark and your joy and your aliveness. And, tell us, what are some of the things that you've have really, some of the tools maybe or practices or lessons that have really stood you in good stead as you've let go of the woman who's the people pleaser or the nurturer, or that
Yes.
vigilance around attuning to other people and the disconnection, and who have you remembered that you are? Two questions in there, but
Yeah. Well, no, you did mention what identity I had to let go of, and that people pleaser was definitely one of them, right? Because I grew up, you had to please everybody else. So thanks for mentioning that. That was a big one I had to let go of. And perfectionism.
mm,
Thinking that I had to be perfect and perfect mom, perfect wife, perfect friend, perfect daughter.
yeah,
And, now, like, what really has helped me through all of this is taking that sacred pause, really. Because in silence and stillness is where awareness it unfolds. Like, what is really going on? How do I really feel about this? Who am I? That remembrance could start there when you have that sacred pause and that stillness. And then when you connect to that energy, that remembrance of who you are, then it's like easy, it's like, okay, I love who I am. I'm confident in who I am, and I am what I am.
yeah,
I don't have to be the people pleaser. I don't have to, be the perfect. I love it when I'm not, when I make a mistake now. Like, and challenges and contrast. It's like, bring it on because that is going to help me to learn and expand and grow. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here, right? So
mm-hmm.
I love the contrast and perceived challenges, because it's an opportunity for growth. but taking that pause, and then I've also learned, and especially when you're with people, right? There's people that could try to like bully you, especially when you're a people pleaser, because they expect that from you. And that was
Yeah.
hard because they weren't used to me being different. They were used to me always pleasing everybody. So then it's like, but you take that pause and you're like, wait, this is not, I don't want to do this. This is not, I need a full cup before I can give, right? Like, my cup is not full. So, I would put boundaries and I would just take that deep breath, go into my heart space, and just be like, you know what? I can offer this. And then they're like, no, but da, da, da. I'm like, I listen to them and I'm just like, okay, I hear you. I understand. I can offer this. And I just would keep repeating, this is what I can offer. And it actually, like, the person disengages. So it's really setting those boundaries.
That's such a great example. I just want to jump on this because, it can be so easy for us to offhand say, just set boundaries, just say no, like just stop being a people pleaser. And this is such a good example, a really like specific example of what that actually means and looks like in life after being somebody who has been a people pleaser, raised to be that way, married in a in a abusive relationship where you need to be that way for safety, and then learning
Oh,
that
man.
it's actually safe, like really building that capacity and that safety within yourself to say no, because I know how I was such a people pleaser growing up too. And I remember when I stopped playing nice and doing all the things and accommodating and, putting a smile on, and I stopped masking and I learned, it's okay to let people down and for them to not necessarily like you, or, to have to feel irritated by you. And it's really hard. And it's hard to sometimes really like narrow down and name what are some of the things that you've done to support yourself through that, especially looking back. And I think that you've just given such a great example of that tangibly that we can all really lean on and learn from. It's like you're stating, like, I hear you. I'm acknowledging what you need from me and what you want. This is actually what I can give from my capacity. Like, this is where my cup's at. This is what I want to give. This is what feels good to me to give. And I'm just going to keep, like, when you say hold a boundary, like, that is such a good example. Reaffirming that, stating that, holding that until the other person does what they do and disengages if they're not going to be willing to honor your needs, your boundaries, your truth. Love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Mm. Yeah, the boundaries are showing self-respect, that's the self-love and self-respect. And we all need to honor each other's boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it really works. It works because when you say this is what it's not like you're just saying no, right? You're offering.
Yeah.
It's not good
Yeah.
enough for them, then.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's not putting a wall up, but it's saying, in this circumstances where walls and hard no's are needed, that where it's redefining that relationship and like where's the post, where's the fence, or whatever analogy you want to use. But where's that meeting point between two people when you're redefining that, renegotiating that? It's like, I don't want to just say no to you, but I really need you to hear me. And so that's a beautiful way of doing that. And I really like to talk to you about regulation because it's something that I know has been such a powerful tool for you as well. And like, I know how much we can hold loving boundaries when we're regulated. When we're dysregulated, it ends in fight, flight, trauma response, or harmful responses or behaviors that we regret. So we're not coming at it from a place of being really present with ourselves and being honoring. And so talk to us about regulation and the power of regulation for you, and some practical ways that you have used these skills. You shared a couple of examples with me, and I'd love to bring those in, because something you said to me before was it's about not letting other people affect you, even when you know they want you to be a particular version or to create a particular experience. It's like you staying centered in yourself, and then you're feeding that out. You're creating the field that everyone comes into and meets you where you're at, rather than you being pulled to meet them where they're at, especially if they're dysregulated, or it's a stressful environment, or it's a lower frequency, a lower energy. So I'd love to hear about how you have been able to really hold yourself regulated in some of these experiences and different, different parts of your life. And so we can hear about that, learn about that from you.
Yes, that's one thing that has helped me tremendously, and I've had to cultivate it, right? It's like, how do I regulate myself? Because I was so dysregulated. And that's when everybody else, I was like a puppet, really,
Mm.
when I'm dysregulated, because you're not in control. You're not being your conscious creator. You're just reacting. So some of the practices, definitely my spiritual practice helps me connect with the divine, with who I am. And then that brings me the safety. That really does, I connect to who I am. I love myself. I'm a good person. I love my light, and I know my purpose. And so really developing the spiritual practice helps me to then get out there and just be in my essence. And when there's somebody that's dysregulated, they we all co-regulate each other. So I energetically put boundaries and protection. And when they come, it doesn't affect me. They can say what they want to say. They can be all like all raged, and it just doesn't affect me. I stay in that. And it's a breath is amazing. One breath, one intentional, correct breath is so powerful. Just one breath.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? Breathe in through the nose and hold it a little bit and exhale. Ooh. Just that right there. It's like it just drops you into the body.
Immediately. I can feel it
Yeah,
immediately with one
yeah,
breath. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I always do that. I take that intentional breath. I make sure that I'm in my body, that I'm grounded, and that's it. And people actually respond to that.
Mm.
I see them calming down. I don't engage. I continue with this is what I can do. This is what I can offer. And I say it, with a genuine heart. I'm not like trying to the ego. Okay, who's going to win here? No, to
Yeah.
me, it doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter to me. I know who I am, and I stand in my power and who in my peace.
Mm.
So that's always helped me regulate certain situations with if they're clients. I do events with hundreds of people, and you could actually shift the whole energy of a room with you stay in your light, and people will see that, they'll feel it, and it has a rippling effect.
Yeah. I feel that so much. It's one of the skills that I really work with in my priestess work and in holding temples and spaces is being that, like, setting the energetic field of a space and inviting people to come in and to meet that, and letting that, this, when the space can hold you as much as, so you don't need to hold it all yourself as well. Then the space can hold everybody, and it can be such a beautiful skill for where it doesn't drain from you as much, because the space is also doing so much of the holding. It's doing the work, and you can sink into that and be like feeding off of that space as much as not just pouring into it. And I love that you have been really working with this and some of the, like, the events that you do, and even with hundreds of people, so on a big scale. And I love the story that you told me before about working with 600 um corporate attorneys. Would you just quickly share that with us? Because I think it's such a good example of like what you did and what the outcome was. I just think this is such a good example for all of us who are space holders. Um,
Yes,
to really hear it. And, and even with families, I'm like, oh, mum skills.
yes, yes. No, for sure. Yeah, there were 600 attendees. They're all high-level corporate attorneys from around the world, and there was 12 event staff to manage these attendees for 4 days. None of us knew each other, very type A. We like to have control. So that was challenging in and of itself. But, I did a meditation before everything started. I set the intention that all that transpires in the entirety of this event, of this time together, be for the very best and highest good of all beings in all places. Set that intention so they all hear it too. And already their guard is down, right? Because we have this common intention. And then from there, I did a meditation about honoring each other's light. We're all different, but we all have this beautiful light. And by allowing each other to shine their light the way that they shine, together we shine the brightest. So that right there put everybody again with more tolerance towards each other's, little quirkinesses or whatever. And during the event, we just worked so well that at the end, the chief marketing officer, he comes and he's like, this event was so different from all the others. Did you guys fake liking each other? Something was different. And we're like, no, we didn't fake it. We really did get along and we all just worked beautifully together. And then he's like, your positivity had a rippling effect on everyone else. Like everyone, he's like, everything was just calm and very successful. So and I brought that into this, container, I guess, but like the power of just one person, right? When you're regulated, when you really lead from a pure heart with good intention, and you share that. It's not about ego. It's not about I'm going to be better than her or what. It's none of that. It's like we're all in this together. And when you really share that, people put their guard down, and they collaborate and work beautifully together. It was a great
Amazing.
experience.
It's such a good story because it's really a practical example. It's a real tangible example. Like, and it's not working with people who are open to this. It's working with people who are used to competitive, high stress, high drama. Like I'm sure there would have been like, all kinds of egos in that room. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of energy. And for a team of you to go in who don't know each other, haven't worked together before, to just create like that, the power of intention and that regulated field for everybody else to be held in and the results of that. I just think it's such a good example. And, one, just a reminder for all of us, like when we're holding space, I think sometimes I know I have in the past been a little bit like, oh, what if someone's not been before and they don't know what to expect, or, I'm gonna, what if this comes up or that comes up, or um, like how do I hold that? And I think a lot of us come from this place of trying to hold the whole space by ourselves instead of realizing that we're creating like a sacred third, like the space can hold, the field can hold, and that people don't need to know or understand or be on board or have practiced or even really be open to it, because energetically this works on the nervous system level, and it's what we will all attune to if we can, if we have the way in. If we can help people to get there, then then our nervous systems will co-regulate and attune to that. And this is like what we need for the earth, like the whole collective. This is what we need as a culture, as a earth community, for humanity to be able to access that co-regulation, that collaboration, the openness, laying down the scarcity, the fear, all of that competition, all of that um like high drama, fast paced, burnout, like needing things to be, super high level all of the time. It's like actually we can heal collectively, individually, communities, cultures, systems, organizations, governments, all kinds of, at every level, if we're able to access this. And I think this is just another example of why our work is just so needed in the world. And it's not just for those who like preaching to the converted. Like it's really the time. I'm a little bit on my high horse right now. I'm a little bit on my soapbox, like on the microphone, like banging my drum for everybody. Like this is so what we need right now. It is not about just doing our work behind closed doors where it's safe. I really believe that we're calling the healers, the space holders, the priestesses, the mystics, the energy workers, all of us, like we have a place, not in our little not just inside the temples, not just inside our healing spaces, not just in our own communities, but really out there in the world. There's a need for it, there's a desire for it. And like this is our time and place to get out into the big wide world and do like this is where we can have the biggest difference. So I'm just really really feeling it and like really want to name that. Like do you feel that too?
Oh my God. I love what you just said. That's exactly, I, they didn't have to be into meditation. Like you just said, they don't have to be into, it's energy. And, that's what's leading it all. They don't need to know, the behind the scenes stuff, but it's energy. And our energies can either destroy a room or
Mm,
it could bring peace and ground the room. It could do both.
yeah.
I choose to ground and bring peace.
Me too, sister. Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful and it's so needed. So if you're hearing this and you're feeling it, even if you're feeling like, oh, scary, there's that nudge is there for you. And I really call you forwards. Um, and Leilani, I'm really curious to ask you as well. You've said that you feel like you're going through like an initiation right now. There's more. Like I just feel like that too. It's like, does it ever end? It's like, how many skins do we have? It's like they just keep growing and it feels never ending. And I feel like this is true for me anyway, is that the more that we appreciate the cycles of life, death, rebirth, of soul growth, our soul journey, these like initiations that we're in and we're able to meet them, like you say, it's painful, it's not easy, it asks us to face something that when we haven't been able to see before, shadow, whether it's dark shadow as they might call it, or golden shadow where we have our gifts in there that we haven't yet met, whether we were being asked to be more visible and like I just said, step out into the places where people were not even sure it's safe to be or people want us, whether it's confronting a part of ourselves, whether it's letting go of something that's been really comfortable. It's always uncomfortable and can be sometimes extremely painful, traumatic even. But when we can recognize these cycles that just keep coming and coming and coming, we know that we will get through it at some point. We can't force it to happen. We don't know the timeline that it's going to happen. We don't necessarily know what we've got to do to get through it to happen. But like Leilani said, listening and stillness and being in empty presence can help us to receive the answers and find the guidance and just take the simple little next step to get through it. But for me, I feel like um the time can be quicker. It can like the sort of bounce back, if you like, the loop can close a little quicker the more I work with it and I'm prepared for it and understand it. So I'm curious for you whether what you're going through right now, what you feel like your initiation is at the moment, and how you're meeting it.
They've become much easier, yes. The loop. Thank God. I, I've been doing more of the like priestess work and energy healing and again I grew up very Catholic, so that was like, how do I, if my family knows, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
but I started coming out and I slowly and now I'm more like I don't care what anybody else thinks really. It's if I'm grounded and I'm coming from the purity of my heart in stillness, that grounded and connecting and receiving, and I use my discernment, I'm very confident and I feel safe, and I know that some of my family members were kind of shaken by it a little bit, and now they're like, "Oh, so like what are you receiving? What are you receiving now?" Or I've helped them, energetically even ground their families, ground the room, ground the
Wow.
family. So I recently was in Egypt in March, and there I had more downloads that came to me and some energetic healing modality, I guess. It's something I wasn't familiar with, and it's very physical. And I know that they're pushing me to, or inspiring me to start doing that kind of work and embody more of the energy healer with my nervous regulation, neuroscience type of work.
Mm.
And just bringing it together. It's kind of like every experience that you've had in this lifetime, which I feel like a cat, my God, so many lives. Um, every experience, and now I get it. Like, I've been regulating nervous system since, I started doing events, and even with the different ex-husbands that I've had in these relationships, me learning to regulate my nervous system for survival and,
I'd even argue, like, I'm sure you were regulating your family, like, as a child. Like, that's the people pleasing part, isn't it? Like, we're
yes.
regulating them so that we're safe in that environment as well. I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Is that true?
absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Goodness, I was the one, yeah, that kept everything calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the one to keep everything calm. So my whole life, I feel like every experience, even if it was painful, brought me to this moment. And they're like, okay, now you're putting everything together. It had a purpose, and that's where I'm at right now. It's so beautiful. Like I trust the universe, and I am just like, even I just recently, I was supposed to move out of my home, and I was just like, because they're selling it, and I was just like, something tells me I'm not moving.
Mm.
I don't know if it's wishful thinking, but I'm like, no, something's really like telling me I'm not moving. I don't see it. I don't feel it. And I'm like, I'm going to trust the universe. And, it's almost got down to like I have to get out of here and find a place. And I'm like, crap, maybe I do need to find a place. And as soon as I said that, I got a call that they were like, oh no, they want you to stay if you
Oh,
want to. I was like, are you kidding me? Right when I was expanding my business and doing all this that required so much of my energy, I was like, how am I going to move I'm a single mom, two teenagers, two dogs. And I
yeah.
was getting overwhelmed and I was trying to, stay grounded, but it was a lot. And I get that it was last minute. And I had told the universe too. I was like, show me a dragonfly wherever I'm supposed to go, right? My new home. And I kept seeing some other places and I was like, no, nothing feels right. I'm looking for any sign of a dragonfly, a dragon and a fly or a dragonfly. I'm like, anything. I'm like, I don't see anything. And I'm sitting on my balcony that morning where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to find a place. And all of a sudden, two dragonflies come into my balcony. And then for a moment, I was like, guys, it's supposed to be the new home. And then I was like, huh, it kind of was like, huh, that's kind of, I started becoming curious. And then I got that phone call.
And
So
there you
I'm in my
go.
life. Yeah, I'm in the point in my life that I trust the universe. I ground myself every day. I do regulate my nervous system, right? The grounding, the connecting to the divinity within, setting intention, being grateful. And if I do something that I'm not like, I'm like, ooh, the forgiveness. Like we're here to grow. So just accept everything that's happening. Acceptance is huge. Forgiveness is huge, and I just trust. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not painful anymore, really. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, damn, you get like, obsessed, but it's like, okay, I know this is happening for me. I
Exactly.
trust.
Yes. It is happening for you. And it's,
Yes.
it's a cliche in this space for a reason because it's true. Like, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I think that that is such a important reframing for all of us just to remember because it really is. I love that experience. And just the dragonflies, like not one but two. And here you are, and how beautiful to be supported as you're stepping in, like you say, to doing your work in a bigger way and to remembering your priestess self. Helen, welcome, priestess. And and like being grounded and supported and held
Held.
on the
Oh my gosh,
physical
held.
so that you can. And
Hmm.
the universe really does speak to us in mysterious ways. And I think that when we're able to really open to, without attachment to what that looks like, then we can just be held through these cycles, even when it feels like all hell's breaking loose, and the ground is kind of wobbling underfoot. Like it might be wobbling, but it's just rearranging itself to hold you better.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's so it's going in with curiosity, and
Mhm.
not judgment. And
Yeah.
even if it's perceived as some some very heavy contrast, just go in with curiosity,
Mhm.
not thinking you know what it's going to look like, what it's going to. From this home buy, when I was looking for a home, I actually met a woman that introduced me to a whole community where I can do my work.
Amazing.
So all this was probably so I can make that contact. And they're like, no, by the way, you're not moving.
But here's
But
someone
we
you need to
wanted you to
know.
make that yes, yes, yes. It's amazing. It's amazing.
That's
I'm so grateful.
that's so beautiful. What a journey you've been on. And just thank you so much for sharing. It's so inspiring. And, I think when we're walking these paths, it can feel quite solitary at times, even though, we're working with community and we're putting ourselves out there into the world. It's so lovely to share stories of what it's like to walk through these initiations and share tools that have helped us. And I think it can feel like we're isolated or we're alone or we're the only ones going through it, even if we've traverse these sorts of things many times. And it's just such a gorgeous reminder of like, actually, no, we're not alone. And to feel seen and to feel heard and to feel like we can learn from each other and walk this together. um because it doesn't stop. It Newsflash, it doesn't stop. So having our sisters by our sides, tools in our pockets, and that trust in the path, it is really what we need. And it's like we said, it's not even just about us on our own journeys. It's about building that resilience and that sort of cycle literacy. I sort of think of like we can share that in the world so that the world's going through crazy times and it's ramping up as well. There's always some absolute drama, um you know up and traumas happening for people collectively as well as individually. And when we can see it for what it is, it's the way that this earth is our humanity, our systems and structures are crumbling. And so when we can have that resilience in view of like, this is what it is and what's happening and why it's happening, then we can walk through it together, from a place of connection and openness, peace, community, and not fear and separation that we've got to go out there and grab because who knows what will be left. So this is the work of our times. I really feel like it is.
I love
Thank you
that.
so much for being with us today. Where can everyone find you, Leilani, to follow along on your Instagram or find out more about your work? And what are your offers? What are you offering at the moment?
Well, my Instagram handle is the Artful Alchemist. I believe there's an artful alchemist in all of us. We have to alchemize, things that happen to us in our lives, right? Turn it into gold.
Love.
So my website is also theartfulalchemist.com. I'm doing a free monthly um, nervous system reset, actually. So like the first one is July 7th. It's on Zoom, and there's some angel, guided the intuitive readings that I do, and then a nervous system reset. And then I also do a complete program. There's 5 stages. I have the Remembrance method, and it's kind of all those stages, because you have to do the work. You really do. You can't do the spiritual bypassing. It's
Totally.
like, oh, you can manifest, just visualize. You really need to do the work. And it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be hard at all. I start with safety first, regulating the nervous system. And once we have that, then everything just unfolds naturally. It's beautiful.
I hear you.
Um,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That is
thanks
so
for letting me
true.
share that.
Oh no, I think, that's so true. You can't jump ahead. Like this is like, there's hacks for this, that, and everything in the world. And this work is just, it's humbling. It can quicken the cycle, but you still can't skip phases of the cycle. Like you have to go through it. You can't bypass it. And I really love that you said that. And that your work is built around that. So that sounds really juicy. And your challenge sounds really exciting too. So um everyone go and check out Leilani stuff. Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for listening, my love, to Wildflow Podcast. If you found medicine in this episode, please share it on socials and leave a review. If you are a sacred space holder, a coach, a priestess, a healer, come and take the free quiz now to discover your sacred feminine leadership dial. Understand your frequencies is magic and medicine for your soul client, and how to work with your leadership edge so that you can show up in your sacred authority and create the business that holds you so you don't have to hold it all. Until next time, my love, stay devoted to your body and your spirit as sacred guide as you share your unique medicine in this world.